Hello, everyone, and welcome to our podcast, Love, Mercy, and Grace. I am your host, Ruthie,
And I am your co host, Rose.
and today we have a very special episode. This is going to be an episode honoring my father. Actually, 10 years today that my dad passed away. And we had announced that Rose and I, along with my two older sisters, were going to get together to honor and just talk about the many memories that we have of him.
Yes, and this is for the very first time that we are actually going to do this publicly. Yes, we always talk about him when in our get togethers, but this will be our first time publicly just doing something like this in his honor, in his memory. So,
In his legacy.
welcome our two older sisters, Rachel and Becky.
Yeah. Hi. Hello.
We also have my brother, but my brother could not be here with us today. Of course, we would have loved to have him here. So, Rachel, if you want to go ahead and talk about your memories of dad and what you remember of him.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you for doing this episode. I know it means a lot to all of us to honor Daddy and to come together to share
Yes.
his memories and everything that he's done. On my end, being the oldest, I saw him before he was a Christian. Of course, I have memories of him before he was a Christian and the moment he got saved and the night he got saved, I remember him coming to my room, but I'll share that in a minute. And then
Mhm.
memories, of course, afterwards. But before all that, one of the biggest memories that I have as a little girl is waiting for Daddy to come home from work because I was always fascinated to see what kind of paint color he would have
Mhm.
on his uniform. And I would get so excited, and especially when Mom would get him a fresh new pair of white pants, a fresh new pair of a white shirt, and there was no paint splatter on it. And I would get so excited because I knew he was going to come home with all these different colors. And I would wait for him to come home, and then I would see blue and white and red and pink and yellow. And even though I never saw none of the houses that he painted, I would only imagine what it would look like.
Mm.
And I don't know if that's the reason why I love to paint now or why I love the smell of paint, the smell of brushes with paint.
Dad
Is
had this certain
because
smell, right? When he would come home from
yes,
work from
yes,
painting. Yeah.
yes, yes. And then
I
when
love
he
that
would
smell.
eat the finished dinner, he will go outside and brings his paint and brushes. And I remember being older, he taught my brothers and I how to do it, and then he would start paying us like a little allowance to do all the stuff. And he would show us. And then also it has to do with paint when he was mixing colors. And he would say, if you go to the store, they're going to tell you to use this color, that color, this color. But if you're a good painter, you don't need to know none of that. You just see it and you make it. So he will get a fresh white can of paint and he says, you want this color, a certain color? And he would just start splattering drops of different paint colors until he got it to exactly to what the customer wanted.
Wow.
Wow.
And that fascinated me that he didn't need no special instructions or whatever. He knew what he was doing, you
Yeah.
know. But that was like the one of the things that I was thinking about this week is that's where I would get excited to see what colors he had on his uniform.
Aw.
Wow. And that's why I mentioned the smell because I remember that smell. There was just something about that smell of paint of that daddy
Yep.
had,
Yes,
seeing him in
and
his
I think
white.
I'm probably Terry thinks I'm weird because I love going to like Lowe's and stuff and just that smell.
And I'm in the paint aisle. Yes, I'm the same
I
way.
love that
I'm in the
smell.
paint aisle.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tony was painting Nally's bedroom yesterday, and I went in there just to sniff on the paint.
I like to sniff
To
paint too.
smell it. It
I think
smells
it's because
so
of that.
good, you know?
Maybe that's why you
I
got a
was like,
little
this smells
cuckoo.
so fresh and so new, like it was just weird. But yeah. Yeah.
And I've
Of course,
always,
there's other tons. We could be here all day, but that one was
yeah,
one that really stood
one of
out
the
for
one
me.
that you remember. And
Yeah.
how was he with, because I know it was you and Rich were the only two for how long before Becky came along?
7 years.
7 years.
I was a baby
That
for
okay.
7 years.
Yeah. After
For
that,
7.
life changed for us.
For the 7 years
No,
being, was
no,
he
5 years because wait, my bad. I was thinking
7
about how
years.
long I was being selfish here.
Yeah.
I was the youngest for 7 years.
You
Yeah.
were the youngest for 7. That's right. Because the reason I asked that, how was he, you being his little girl before Becky came along?
Yeah, I have so many memories going fishing with his brother, all our tios, tias, to Rockport, spending the night on the bridge, fishing. He would always do this prank where he would put a crab in my sleeping bag because he knew I was terrified of them.
My
And he would
goodness.
get a kick out of it, me screaming. I know it sounds mean, but he enjoyed pranking me with those crabs.
Daddy.
And I remember mom would get mad at him and stuff like that, going fishing, teaching us how to fish. He had a bow and arrow when we were little, so he taught me and Rich how to use it. We had a big backyard. He would put the target, he would play. And another fond memory is kite flying. He
Yes.
would
Oh,
He
always
would
yes.
make his
always
own
go kite flying.
kites. Yes.
And he
Yes,
will
he would
make
make his
his
own
own
kite.
Mhm.
kites,
Yeah.
and I know Becky has one that she can share later of her close call with Mother Nature, but
Becky had
remember
a
he
lot of
would,
close calls on a lot
yeah,
of things.
yeah. So high flying, we had a old garage and it was all run down. And I remember me and Rich would go in there. We would call it exploring, and we would look at his toolbox and all the tools that he had. And I was always fascinated by that. Then we had a huge yard, so he had a huge riding lawnmower. And that's another memory I have, that I was on his lap and he was driving the
Mm.
lawnmower, cutting. And then growing up later, Daddy got saved when I was 9.
Mhm.
So I remember that night he came to my bedroom, woke me up, and he had told me that he had changed and he asked me for forgiveness. I didn't know what was going on. It had been really bad prior to that, a few years. The way we grew up, and then suddenly it changed. So it was tough, but I'll share that later because y'all
Yeah.
know my testimony. But prior to being little, those are the things I remember. Of course, having his dinner, my mom will make dinner. As soon as he would pull up the driveway, dinner was served every day. It was a routine. And then eating ice cream floats outside in the backyard, looking at the stars. That's another thing I remember, looking at the stars. And then later on, when he got saved, we would sit outside in the backyard and he would share stories, Bible stories and stuff like that. So
Mm.
it changed,
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
the better.
And
Yeah.
Becky was born how many years after?
5 years after Rachel. Rachel
5
was
years
five.
after. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Becky, I know you have so many memories of Daddy. So
I
if you want to
do.
go ahead and
And
share a few.
yes, thank you. So yeah, so again, mine is also some of the before and after. When I was born, I guess it was what Rachel would consider the worst years, and I won't get into that. But I didn't know, right? I was little. I
Yeah.
mean, to me, that was my dad, and I just wanted to be around him. And so I remember him coming home at night, and I don't know what time that was or whatever, but I would always crawl out of my crib or wherever I was sleeping and go sit on his lap while he ate his food. Or in the morning, I would make him his Alka-Seltzer. And again, I had no
After his
idea
hangover,
what was
his hangover.
happening, but I was there. Or hanging outside at the house with his friends would come over. I knew all of his friends by name and they knew me, and just be there wanting to be wherever he was at. But the memories that I guess core memories besides those things are him calling me his Barbie, that I would always be his Barbie. Him coming home from work and he would pick me up in the air right away. Looking forward to that. Going with him to estimates, riding with him to different
Yes.
people's houses for the estimates. And like Rachel
Maybe
said,
that's where you got the business mindset,
probably like
probably.
yes, I started taking notes since then. Yeah, so it's hard to pinpoint right to mention them all. There's so many memories, but I do remember what Rachel was saying. He would be out
The
there.
gong play
Yes,
the gong
yes,
show.
play the what was it called? The gong bong,
The gong show.
the
And
gong show.
sometimes he wouldn't even let us start performing. He would start throwing the gong down.
It was like the most fun. Like it's like one
Yeah.
of the kids. If mom wasn't home supervising and it was just
Yeah.
us, like nothing was off
Supervising.
limits. Like we had a blast. We had so
Yeah.
much fun. And I remember when we would go outside and eat watermelon while we
Mhm.
told stories and look at the stars. And it's just so many. One of the things I remember too, and maybe that's why I have this collection of shirts. I know Ruthie does too, but him watching boxing. And
Yes.
I would sit there with him, and
Hmm.
Muhammad Ali fan now
Yes.
because of that, I
Yep.
think.
Yes. Yes.
And
Same
so
here.
those are the things I remember him being at the head of the table, and no matter what he was eating, it could be just a plain bean taco, and he made it look like it was so
Yes.
good.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
You know,
Anything
Yeah.
that
With so
man
much
was eating, he
passion.
made look good.
yes. And then the
Yes.
first time he made me eat hot sauce on purpose, and after that, I think he did that to all of us.
Yes. With the chile
Did that
piquin.
to your son, Becky. Devontae,
Yes,
he made him eat a
that's what the
jalapeno.
grandkids do. But yeah, like I can go on and on, but it's just those are the things I think about. But at the end of the day, when I think about dad, I remember how his life changed because I
Yeah.
remember in the beginning
Yeah.
when I don't know the exact day, right? Like Rachel does. Those are vivid memories for her. But for me, I remember how he started reading the Bible. He had this huge, giant Bible that he had back then, and he would read stories to me.
There's a family Bible with all the
Yes.
pictures.
He
Yeah.
taught me how to pray and he taught me about faith and whatever dad said, I believed it. Like I wholeheartedly. He said, you just tell God and this is gonna happen. I believed it. I really did. And so that's just how I feel like
Your
that's one of the
faith.
biggest things. Yes.
Mhm.
Faith.
And
Yeah.
you, Ruthie? I know yours are different too.
Yes, mine are
Mhm.
different because when I was born, daddy was already saved, and I didn't get to see the side. And when my two sisters say the bad part or the bad side, they're talking about my dad. And later on, we'll get into that at another time, but my dad has a powerful testimony. And so that's what they're talking about before my dad was saved, what they went through with him, with the family. But with me, I only have memories of when he was saved. And my sisters will tell you, I have a memory. They think I'm crazy, but I literally remember like even getting my pepper changed when I was 1 years old. I remember the room, the 39th Street, the house that we were at on 39th Street. And I even remember the color of the room because I slept with mom and dad. And memories that I do have from that house is the watermelon. I remember going outside. I know Rachel mentioned after he was saved, we would go outside, he would say stories. And I got to experience that. To this day, I could smell the watermelon going outside and looking at the stars. And I remember him cutting it perfect. I think this is probably why to this day I like my watermelon cut like that and then just eating it like that. And I remember the Bible stories. And the Bible that y'all are talking about, was it that big white one? And it
Yes.
had
Yes.
all these
Yes.
pictures. Okay, I remember
Mhm.
that Bible clearly. One memory that I have that I'll never forget, and Rachel, I'm sure you remember. I was asleep. I know Rachel and my brother were babysitting me, and I had fallen asleep. And I remember I woke up and I was starving. I was hungry. And my mom says I was 2 years old. I woke up and I was hungry. And Rachel and Rich were asleep. My brother and my sister were asleep. And I didn't want to bother them. So I told myself, make yourself a grilled cheese sandwich. I couldn't reach the counter. So I remember getting a chair and I remember the toaster oven. We had like a little toaster oven. And I remember making myself the sandwich. I put it in the toaster oven and I turned it on. It was dark. I couldn't reach the light. I left everything dark. So all I remember seeing is a little orange light from the toaster oven and me standing there. And then I had a knife ready because I was gonna cut my sandwich when mom and dad walk in. And my dad's like, ¿Qué estás haciendo, Ruthie? And I had a knife. But they were so upset because I didn't have a butter knife. I had like a big old so upset. But they were mad. I think Rachel and my brother got punished and in trouble for that
I don't
because they
remember,
were,
but I'm
you don't
upset that
remember
you
that?
did that now.
Yes. My mom was yelling at Rachel and Rich, and my dad was like, so, but my dad got me down, carried me off the chair. I didn't get in trouble. It was my sister and my brother who got in trouble. And then he finished making the sandwich for me. He cut it for me and he gave it to me. But that was something I'll never forget. And he loved boxing. So I'm like Becky when it comes to boxing. I love boxing and I'm a big Muhammad Ali fan because my dad was a big Muhammad Ali fan. And so we have a lot of memory. He would quote a lot of his quotes. Remember, Becky? So me and Becky have like t-shirts, Muhammad Ali t-shirts because of that, you
Yeah.
know. So and the estimates, my dad as a painter, I would go with him to do estimates too when I was little. And Rachel mentioned the paint. I used to love that too. And that smell. He had that
Mhm.
smell of paint. I used to love when my dad would come home from work and I would see him through the window. I would look out the window and I would see him coming his truck and the aqua truck he had, was it
Yep.
Yes.
the
Yeah.
Ford?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
remember seeing him and I remember running to the door and running to him, Dad, and I would say, Daddy, 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 and he would carry me and I would smell. But I always look forward because he worked as a painter and he would paint houses for a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
And I would look forward to that. He used to play cars with me because growing up and I was little, I loved cars. So he would play with me and we would set up, I would say, this is the church. I would like build a church with Legos. And then I would say, okay, this is the hermano this and that. This is the hermano this and that. And I would park all the cars.
Oh my
Or
God.
we would play tent like revival. And I would like get the the blankets and I would put like a little something pointy in the middle and I was, look, daddy, this is the carpa. And we would like, he would play with me like that. And I have a lot of memories of that with daddy. And I remember him once, I think once or twice, I went with him. He took me with him to go paint. And I'll never forget, I have like this memory of him to where he let me paint a little spot. And then it was just like a little circle. And he left it there. He had left it there because I had painted that. And then I just want to say this one that my mom to this day, if she remembers, still talks about it. She gets so mad. I used to love going with my dad everywhere, right? And I remember he came home and my mom would not like for me to go out the house if I wasn't combed, if I wasn't like nicely dressed. She didn't like for me to go out toda manchada or nothing. That day, I had just had a fudge popsicle and I had like a white sundress. And I remember I was eating the popsicle and I had been running around with my cousins, so my two chonguitos were all crooked, right? I was all despeinada. When my dad comes home and he tells mom that he was gonna go catch his check, he was gonna go to the bank, and it was the bank. Now I live near it, but it's over here on this side of town. And during that time, it was like if you had money, you lived over here by this bank. So it was a lot of people with money at that time. And so my dad's like, I'm gonna go cash the check. Ahorita vengo. And I told dad, I want to go with you. I want to go with you. My mom's like, no, no vas a ir. Estás toda despeinada, toda manchada. No vas a ir así. And my dad's like, no, déjala que vaya. And I was like, dad, please, mom, please, I want to go. No, Rudy, no vas a ir. Déjala que venga conmigo. A cabo, voy a ir por el drive-thru. I'm not going to get down. I'm going through the drive-thru. Nadie la va a ver. Pues no tenía mis, I couldn't even find my shoes. I could not find my shoes. And my mom
Oh
hated
my
for me to go anywhere barefooted.
God.
My mom was mad. And then my dad says, ¿Vas a ir o no? Yes, yes, daddy. My mom's like, ay, vas a ver cuando vengas or whatever, right? So I left. We get to the bank.
I
And I
can
don't
just
remember for
imagine.
some reason they told him he had to get down. I don't remember why, but the
Híjole.
teller told him that he had to get down. And my dad was like, hijo, se va a enojar mami, pero te vas a tener que bajar así. Sabes, no te voy a dejar
Híjole.
sola en la troca. And I was like, okay. I got down toda llena de chocolate all over my dress because I had like a white dress on. It was a sundress. I had stained it of chocolate. I didn't have shoes on. I had chocolate all over my face. My chongos were all crooked. I had bangs during that time. My hair was everywhere. And I got down like that. And my dad was like, he said
Híjole, Ruthie.
that everybody was staring at my dad.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody. They would look at me and then my dad's about to get that I kidnapped you.
Yeah.
My dad, no le vas a decir a mom nada. We get home and my dad ends up telling her. I don't know why, but daddy ends up telling her that he had to get down. Mom yelled at
I can only
him, yelled at
imagine.
me,
Mhm.
and oh yeah, she didn't stop talking about that for a very long time. You ask her, she'll probably still get mad all over again about that. But that's
Oh
one
my
memory that I
God.
have of him. And of course, there's just so many more. And I know as we continue
Yeah.
to talk, we'll talk more about the other memories. And Rose, if you want to go ahead.
Yeah, so for me, it was different because by the time that I was born, daddy was now full time in ministry. So he was not only pastoring, but also evangelizing as well. So I didn't have like those same memories that you guys have of him coming home from work and things like that. But some of my memories that I have were like, I guess the time because he was always in church. We were always in church and things like that. So the time that we did have to spend quality time one on one, he taught me how to throw a football. He taught me how to like spiral it. And so to this day, when I show people, they're like, how do you know how to do that? I'm like, my dad taught me. He's the one that taught me how to play volleyball. He's the one that trained me one summer when I was in middle school and I wanted to be a starter for the following year. And so that whole summer at the church, he trained me with volleyball. I went back to school that following year and I made starter. So that's like one major memory that I have. Some of the other memories that I have of him are more how you guys were saying, like the smell of paint. Well, for me, it's the smell of anointing oil of aceite. Like the
Oh,
smell of aceite was every time I smell it, I'm like, oh, it smells like daddy. Just like seeing going into the room when he was home. We all have that memory that we would go into his room. He was either praying, reading the Bible, or taking a nap. Right. But I remember being little and him kneeling down by the bed and praying, and I would use him as a slide. I
Me
would climb
too.
on the
I
bed
forgot to
and then
mention that.
slide down his back and then just be doing that over and over. Mom would come in, get mad at me,
We
tell me to
both
leave
would do
daddy
that.
alone. But daddy would
Mhm.
tell her, no, déjala, just let her. It's okay, let her. And there I go, just climbing on the bed, just sliding down his back.
It was
Um,
fun.
yes, it was fun. Some of the other memories that I have, I'll never forget one time I was in eighth grade and daddy would take me to school every morning. And this one particular random day during the week, he's driving me to school and he tells me, do you need to go today? He goes, do you have any tests or anything important today? I said, no, no, dad, I don't have any tests. And he goes, do you want to play hooky? I was like, yeah, let's play hooky. So that whole day we went downtown. We pretended we were tourists. We went to the Alamo. We went walking around. We ate at Wendy's. Remember when Wendy's was downtown by the Alamo? It's
yeah.
not there anymore. But we ate there at Wendy's and then we walked over to the tower. I didn't
Me
know
too.
that daddy was afraid of heights at that time. And I wanted to get on the tower. So there we go. We go in the tower and we're going up the elevator and he got all like, he was off. He goes, oh, my burger. And then we get to the top of the tower. You know how you go out and there's those bar things, right? Where you could like
Yeah.
look out and stuff. And he was chewing gum. And so we're there, we're looking out. And then he throws his gum, like he spit out his gum. And then I was like, Daddy. And then we just looked where it landed on somebody's the top of their head.
Oh,
I was all daddy, and he was just laughing, and he was like, "Well, there goes my gum." And so we just spent the whole day, and we didn't tell mom. We waited till it was time for me to get out of school and everything to get home, and we didn't tell mom for like about maybe like a year or two later. We finally told mom about it, and of course she got all mad at him and stuff. And the other one major memory that sticks out to me is, of course, the campañas, being in church, but one of the biggest things is his walk. The way he
Mm,
had that walk, he had like
a
that's
that
right.
smooth walk.
Denzel Washington, Obama swag type walk. And when he would go up and they would call him up to go preach, and him just either holding the Bible under his arm or holding it like by his hand and just walk that smooth walk just down the aisle up to the altar. Like that just sticks so,
Yeah.
like, it's just a major memory that I have of him, and like just him playing basketball with the youth and stuff. And so those are some of the memories growing up as a kid and as a preteen. Those are some of the biggest memories that I have of him for sure.
I was gonna say, I think we all have this memory because I think he did this with all of us. But anytime he took us anywhere or picked me up from school, he would roll down the window and start singing,
Yes.
Yes.
"Here
Here
she
comes
comes."
Miss America.
Oh
Miss
my
Yeah. And then,
America.
yeah.
God!
Yes, I was gonna
By
say
the time I
that.
was little and
God, it
already
will start running into the car.
adult, already working at UTSA, and a few times he would pick me up from work when I first started working there, and he didn't care who
Yes.
was around. He would just,
Yes,
yeah.
he will pick me up from when I was in college, pick me up from SAG, or pick me up from UTSA, same thing. There she comes,
Yep.
Miss America, like
Yep. Yep.
loud out the window.
Yep. I
Yes.
remember
And
that.
yeah, I have that memory too. No matter, I think he did that to all of us. No matter how old we were,
Yeah.
he was there singing "Here
Hmm.
She Comes, Miss
He would do
America."
it to mommy when she would be walking, coming out of HEB, walking to the car. He would do that to her too. Yeah.
But would
That's
just turn
hilarious.
around,
And let's
think who
not
is
Or
he
forget
talking to?
his crazy made up jokes.
yes, his
Oh
dad
my
Yes,
God.
jokes.
Yes. Yes. His
Yes.
him and his
jokes.
jokes, and he would make them up
Yes.
Yes.
right then and there, like at
Mhm.
that moment. And I'm just looking at
And
him
I
like
would
that.
tell him, Dad, it's not funny. They're not funny. He goes, how can you say they're not funny? And he would crack up even louder and start banging on the table, like, it's so funny. Or in the van or wherever we were.
Remember, Ruthie, I was already older by this point. I was in like high school, middle school, high school. And daddy would tell me, you want to go walking with me? Let's go walking for exercise. And it would be like it would be in the evening, like around 7:30, 8 o'clock. And he's like, come on, let's go walking. I'm like, okay. So we will go walking. And then
They would
we
go walking
would
for
go.
exercise and they were both come back with chips or ice cream.
Oh,
Or one time he was like, let's go walking. So we were walking, and then he goes, let's go walking to Jalisco.
They
Went
were
to
like,
Jalisco and we ate tortas. And then dad was like, well, we exercised it all.
mom was like, no que iban a ir a exercise, pero ahí andan comiendo tortas.
oh,
Or like the yellow pinto. We had that yellow pinto with the that didn't have a window that had it
oh my
boarded up,
God.
and
Rachel,
he
is
would
that the
pick me up.
car when you got stuck on the bridge?
The what?
Yes.
The car
No,
when we
I think
got
y'all
stuck
got
on
stuck on the
that
bridge in a
bridge?
van, no?
Remember when that big truck car had to
Oh,
push us?
yes. It was so scary.
Say
Oh
the
my
Okay.
God.
story. Say it.
Rachel can say it
Well,
better.
yeah.
Well, I don't even remember where we
Coming
were
from
going.
work. He picked us up from
Oh
work.
yeah, coming from work. And was it the one on Bynum?
No, it was the bridge coming from 410 to get on 90.
There was an incident that happened on
Oh,
Bynum
when the
too.
truck stopped, when the car stopped?
Yes, remember when that big old car had to push us or we didn't know?
Yes, yes, we was we was in the Pinto, right?
I think
And we were coming down from 410 going up into 90 in that circle U turn or whatever, and it just completely stopped. And we're freaking out, we're screaming, we're yelling. And Dad's like, don't worry. You know how he would get, don't worry. And then this car from behind us just started pushing us, like without warning, just pushing us. And me and Becky are, we're screaming. And Daddy goes, it's okay, it's gonna be okay, it's okay. And without warning, just started pushing us until finally the car started again. I don't even remember. I was terrified. Then there was
Oh my
another time
goodness.
with that when picking me up from work and we're going home on that circle where he had to exit 410 and go into 90 or something in the middle of traffic, and he wasn't yielding. He was coming down the circle in the entrance. I said, yield, daddy, yield, daddy. And whoosh, 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 all these cars are coming. Yield, daddy, yield. And he goes, ah.
Starts yelling.
And
He would
he's
do that.
driving. And then I'm like, what are you doing? He said, you said yell, daddy, yell, daddy, yell. But he knew I was saying yield and he did it on purpose. And then he looks at me, he just starts laughing with that laugh where he's just shrugging his shoulders. And I was just so mad at him. Like, I can't believe you're scaring me. Like, don't worry, mama, you're gonna be fine. Yeah, look, nothing happened. This car's blessed. What car's not
This
blessed? It
car's
doesn't
blessed.
move.
Hey, daddy.
So
He
mad at
would
him.
always do things like that. And he would, like, I remember if he would see the yield sign and mom would be like, yield, mi vida, yield. You're supposed to yield. He'll start yelling, ah. I'm like, yield, not yell. But he was
He was
always doing
crazy.
things like that. And no matter the situation, like he was always like, stay calm, stay calm. Or if I was arguing with him about something, daddy would be like, just enjoy the scenery. Just
Oh my
enjoy the
goodness.
scenery.
Yes.
And oh my goodness, that would just make me more mad. Just
Yes.
enjoy the scenery. Just enjoy the scenery.
And he
And
would go the long way every time. He
And
would
then he
always
would
go the
end up
long
with,
way.
what town is this?
Yeah.
Oh
He
yeah.
would get
I
lost.
say that. I
I
still
still
say
say
that.
I do
Well, I
too.
still say that whenever I'm lost, I go, what town is this?
I do the
it would
same
be here
thing.
in San Antonio. And if he was somewhere where he got ended up getting lost, he'd be like, what town is this?
I still say it. What
But that
town is it?
pinto, the memories with that pinto. So my dad, when we say that my dad was a man of faith,
That
was a
car
man of faith.
rode on
Like
nothing but
he,
faith.
no matter what vehicle he has, man, we have vehicles that rode by the faith that he had because of that. We had a Pinto, everyone, and I know a lot of people who's known us since we were young remember that Pinto. Okay. It was a yellow, bright yellow Pinto. And he rode that Pinto until he couldn't anymore. He rode it
No,
without
he
a
wrote it until
carburetor.
we got and he wrote it until they got the van. Until we got the van.
That's right.
That was
You would
that was
we would
when
It
travel
was
to Austin quite
yes.
often in that Pinto. And mind you, I'm a tall person and my knees were on my chest from sitting in the back seat and packed with I don't know if we felt like clowns from a circus coming out of that car. Like I don't know how we fit youth in that
No,
car.
and yeah, we y'all would put all mom and dad would put all the youth in the car, and where was I stuck? Way in the back, where it's not even a seat, hunched over. That's probably why I have back problems till this day
Yes.
because
He
of
didn't
that.
have no heat. The
No,
wipers at one point didn't work. He had a string from the
A
inside
string
that he
to
would
move the
pull.
wipers.
So the
it
wipers,
didn't have a carburetor. That car
no.
rode on no carburetor for a long time. And my dad knew, like people that knew about mechanicing, they would tell him, hermano, ¿cómo anda manejando ese carro sin carburetor? My dad was
When I
God.
had Lizzie, when I had remember he had to pick us up because I had gotten sick or
Mhm.
whatever, and Lizzie was a newborn. It was so cold, and here me and Lizzie in the back seat with no room, right? Super cold. Had her like all wrapped up in blankets. I'll never forget that. Like no
and
heat.
all the way from
It was
Khalid.
yes, all the way from Killeen, 3 hours drive, and then it started raining, and he's there pulling the string. Don't worry, don't worry. We made it home. Like thank God, we
But I
made it
always say,
home.
don't worry.
And
And
then
then
one time I think it was at Brother Santos church where he locked the keys in the car or something and they had
yes.
to break the window.
And
Yes.
that's how
So
the
now the
And
car
that's what he
Pinto
turned.
was
replaced the
without a
window with.
window and had a board on it. So you
Yes,
can
that's what I
just
was about to say.
imagine.
He had no
Hmm.
choice but to break that window. And I'm like, Dad, we're gonna get another window, right? No worry, don't you worry. He put a board, a wooden board.
Hmm. Yes. And then take me to school like that, knowing I was embarrassed, and then pick me up like that and start honking on purpose to catch everybody's attention. And I was just so embarrassed. Oh my
Crazy.
God.
That's funny.
My dad would not miss church for nothing. Like he rode that vehicle in the middle of a tornado.
Yes.
In the middle of a tornado, he went to go pick up one of our youth, and
Yep.
we were having a youth service that day. And Rachel was going to preach that day, but my dad had gone to go pick up. Remember Marco, right? He went to go pick him
Yes.
up.
Yeah.
Our friend Marco, he was one of the youth. He was morenito, remember?
Yeah.
He came back pale, white as can be, with his eyes all big. Because my dad was like, they weren't gonna cancel the campaña. And he comes back. They ended up being in the middle of a
Yeah.
tornado. And my dad was driving.
He came back, he's all, your dad is crazy, man. Your dad is crazy.
He's the whole time he's telling me, don't you worry, don't you worry, driving in the
Trees
middle of
were
the tornado.
flying.
Oh,
Oh,
ain't
when
funny.
it
Trees
caught fire.
flying.
I remember when it caught fire, and I don't know
Yes.
how I
Yeah.
came out of the
Yeah.
back seat, and
Yeah,
we were
you
Yeah.
on it. We
left
were supposed
me,
to go to
Rachel, and
Austin.
mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
We were supposed to
remember.
go to Austin, and it caught fire. And I just remember I was in the back seat already. Man, I don't know how I got out of that. I came out, and then I thought for sure we were not gonna go to Austin because
Yeah,
he
because
had to go
dad's
preach.
arm was had on fire. Dad's shirt caught fire.
Yeah, it did. I remember. And mom
And
And
was
then
I
like
thought,
screaming and
and
everything.
yes.
I thought for
And
sure
then
we're
like
canceling the trip because he was gonna go
no, he
preach.
closes
And
the hood. He's like, okay, let's go.
And what makes you think he was going to cancel that when, remember when we had that accident, when the car hit us from behind? It was so scary when we got hit. I remember the car was moving so slow and we felt like we were inside a bubble. And then I kept hearing glass break and stuff. Then, when that finished, this man opened the door and said we needed to get out because the gas was leaking. So, long story short, we're all on the side of the street, and I looked up and the car smashed like in an accordion. We hit the truck in front of us, and we got hit from behind. We were on the way to
yeah,
Campania, right? We were having
Mm-hmm.
Campania
Daddy was
revival,
preaching.
and my guitar was in the back of the trunk. And I remember I started crying because I knew my guitar had been in my mind it was ruined. And the beautiful thing about that is when I was sitting there crying, this man asked me, "Why are you crying?" And I said, "Because look at my car, my guitar's in there." And I turned and I looked at him. He was wearing white pants with white tennis shoes. And he had a white windbreaker. And then he says, "Well, go check." And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Go check, go check." And so the fire crew, cops are all around the car. And I went over there and the trunk was so smashed. There was no way to open it. And the men are telling me, "Ma'am, you gotta move, you gotta move." No, 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 no. But he told me to check. It's not gonna open. Remember, I touched the back of the car, and however the mangled the trunk was, it opened. And I remember I looked, and way in the back was my guitar case. And I got it and I opened it, and my guitar didn't have a scratch on it. So I got it and I was crying. I ran back and I started looking for that man to thank him, and I couldn't find him. I asked people, "Hey, you see the man with the white shirt, with the white jacket, the white pants?" They said, "No, there was nobody there." So I know it was an angel. But I'm saying all this because we were all traumatized. It was revival time. The ambulances were there. They came. I remember Brother Rutia was there helping us out. I thought for sure we were going to go home, right? And I was like, "Dad, are we ready to go home? We're ready to go home." And goes, "¿Cómo que vamos a ir para la casa? We have service tonight. It's campaña." And I would help
Tengo
that
que
play. And I'm
predicar.
like, "No, no, 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 no. Well, I have to go preach." Dijo, "Y prepárate." Because you need to tune your guitar, tune it. And in my heart, I was like, "What is wrong with this man?" I was like, "What is wrong with this man?" And we went to church and everything. And when I started tuning the guitar, it wasn't even untuned. It was tuned
Wow.
perfectly.
Wow.
Those are lessons that I learned. At the time, I didn't understand it. But now that I've been ministering for years, I understand why Dad reacted the way he did, right? And I'm like, okay, God was with us. But that's what I'm saying. Nothing would stop this man from
No.
preaching. Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing. Not even a car accident. And it's just
Hate to go to
crazy.
church. Becky didn't even get to go home either. She had broken what,
Yes,
your leg?
I had a big old
Bola?
Bump.
bullet. It was like a big old ball. Long story short, I was in church, and then I think it was Rose, you were with us, right? Um,
Yeah, I was little. I was like
you
three.
fell on my leg.
Oh,
Ay.
Yes, I remember that. We ended up,
I'm sorry.
yeah, but yeah, it ended up being like a busted tendon and ligament. I was in crutches, but
But
yeah,
he
It's only by the grace of God that none of us were critically wounded because it was a really bad accident.
yeah.
I wasn't there that day. I was at home with Rich.
I
Felt
remember
like
that.
motion. It felt like we were in a
Yeah.
bubble. Like it was, we were,
Yeah.
and that was the only accident I had ever been in. So I didn't know what it was supposed to feel like. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
later, actually, like less than what, 10 years ago or 9 years ago, I had that really bad car accident where I went spinning and everything. It was bad.
Hmm.
There was no comparison. You know what I mean? From
Yeah.
that accident to this, I realized like how much God protected us that day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
Thank you,
that
Jesus,
out
for
there
the
preaching
protection.
como
I
siempre.
Yeah.
know. I know. I
Yes.
Yeah.
think that's where we all get it from being a minister and pastoring with my husband and even helping daddy in ministry to
Yeah.
when you have a position, people would tell me, "Well, I don't feel good." Well, let's pray and then go do what you need to do. Go for it. Don't let that stop you. And I guess from our experiences, if God could be with us in these terrible episodes that we faced in time and God protected us, then how much more,
Mm.
Mhm.
do what He has called us to do?
Yeah.
And I know
And also like, oh, being little too and being used to help also in the ministry. Like I was little, like 8, 9 years old, and people put me to hold the people at the altars during altar call. Like, oh my goodness. I
Yeah.
don't, yeah.
and
Yeah.
Rachel, I know that you have a lot of memories with Daddy, the ministry, because you played guitar, and so you were always
Mhm.
helping him in ministry. And I know you have a lot of memories of Daddy, like the one about the nails. You have to share that one.
Oh,
She's still
really?
mad.
Oh, mind you, I was already a married woman that weekend. I knew I was going to help daddy play the guitar because I had agreed already that I was going to help him play. I don't know what got into me. I honestly forgot I was going to play, or I didn't think that if I would get my nails done that I was not going to be able to play. Anyway, I went to get my nails done, long story short. And I was so excited because they had done such a wonderful job. I've been enjoying my nails. I hardly ever get my nails done. And I went early to the church, and I remember Tony and I got there, and Daddy said, "Okay, Meow, you want to go check the equipment and whatever." So I went and I got the guitar, started setting up, and when I held it, I realized that I couldn't play because my nails were too long, right? So I went, oh man, I didn't think it was gonna turn into what it did. So I went to the foyer area where Daddy was, and I said, Dad, I'm sorry, but I won't be able to play. He goes, ¿Por qué? And then I'm like, pues I forgot, got my nails done, and I can't play. I'm sorry. And he didn't like it. He got upset. He was like, no, you're going to play. And I'm like, no, I can't. No, no, you're going to play. And it turned into this argument. And long story short, Daddy found an old pair of scissors, grabbed my hand, and cut my nails. And I'm telling him no. And Mom's telling him to stop. And I'm looking at Tony. Tony's like, I'm not getting involved. He cut him horrible. And he says, okay, now go play. And I couldn't believe he did it. I was so hurt. I very rare that I was hurt with Daddy, but when I would get hurt by Dad, it would linger. I mean, Mom could spank me, yell at me, do whatever, but if Daddy raised his voice at me, it would hurt
Hurt,
Yeah.
yeah.
and it would linger. So knowing that he was upset with me and he did that without me wanting to, I was so hurt. And so people started arriving, so I wasn't going to make a big deal about it. I swallowed it and I went, and Tony tried to fix it, trying to shape my nails, a little bit as much as he could. And I was crying. And then I said, stop crying. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. And then Mom was looking at him like, wait till we get home. And then service started, and I think it was the Christmas service. I don't remember. It
Yeah,
was a
I think
special
it
service.
It
was.
was
Yeah.
and
Christmas service.
and I was there playing, and not to be, we all have growing pains, and you learn. I'm not perfect, no one's perfect, but there was this sister in the Lord, bless her heart. She had no idea what had happened. She had her nails done and they were so beautiful. She kept raising her arms and praising Jesus, and all I could focus was how beautiful those nails were. And I was so upset that here I am looking at my chopped up nails, and her nails are so gorgeous. And I was trying hard not to cry, right? So anyway, I was glad when it was over. I went home. I was so hurt. I was crying, mad at Daddy. And then later on that night, my mom calls me and she's like, Daddy wants to talk to you. And I'm like, so, long story short, he apologized and he said he was really sorry, that he just panicked because he needed me to play and this and that. He goes, but I want you to know your mom has not let me hear the end of it. She's mad at me. She yelled at me all the way home. She's standing right here in front of me, making sure that I'm talking to you and to tell you that I'm sorry. He goes, and I'll pay for your next set, right? So, but yeah, those are experiences I had with Daddy. Then there was a time when we were helping over there with the Brother Salinas, and Daddy had been after me to direct, and I didn't want to sing. I still hadn't started singing. I would play, I would follow people, but I still had not sung. And we were on the way, and he had been nagging me all week. I want you to direct and sip some coritos. And I kept telling him no, and he got so mad. Like, why don't you want to do what God wants you to do? And I'm like, I don't want to, Dad. You can't force me. That's what I would tell him. So on the way over there, he started asking me over and over again, and I want you to direct, I want you to direct, and then turn into this argument. And Mom goes, yeah, yeah, let it go, let it go. And I got so mad. I said, you know what, Dad? And this is me and my pride, learning curves. If God wants me to direct, then let Brother Salinas ask me to direct. That man approached me. We drove up. We weren't even parked yet, and he was coming to the car. Daddy rolled on the window. He leaned his head and he goes, Mija, you want to direct today? Right? And I'm like, oh my God. And then Daddy looks in the rear mirror and he just starts laughing with his shoulders, like that silent laugh. And I'm like, oh my God. And I couldn't tell him no, right? And he left, and then Dad goes, sí, órale, ándale. Ándale. No que no, no que no. And I'm like, oh my God. But I knew in my growing pains and in my maturity in the ministry, I knew that God wanted me to do it. I was just fighting it. But to have that argument with Dad, and then I just, okay, God wants me to sing, then He'll ask me to play. And sure enough, He asked me to play, and I was so
That day.
terrified. I was so terrified. But yeah, little things like that, that we would do together. But my greatest memories of all, of course, is ministry,
Yeah.
aside Daddy. Those are things that I'll never, that I'll have in my heart forever.
Yes.
Have been able to be by his side, ministering, and have all those memories, and knowing that God used him, God used me, God used us together, things that he would come to my rescue when I was getting spiritually attacked and I didn't understand what it was. And I would feel these attacks coming, and before I could even scream, Daddy was already in the room and he was praying, and he
Mhm.
would always be there, not even a split second, like he knew. And he would tell me and share those things with me. And those are things that I cherish the most. And I'm the most honored to have had those years with him in ministry,
Yes.
So God gets all the glory for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
You had that special bond with him. I think all of us
yeah.
girls, we all had a special bond with him in different ways. And I know Becky, you did too. Yours was a lot with the
Yes.
business, the paintings.
Yes.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's always been a painter. That was always his primary way. But we like formally established a business in
Mm-hmm.
2001, right after Hannah was born. Let me just say this. Dad was always my biggest cheerleader. He never once made me feel like anything I thought of was impossible that I wanted to do.
Exactly.
I mean, he took me to what was I thinking, but there he was supporting me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Believing in me. I remember I went to this small business class. People were there. There was people from all different parts of the area. The whole point was to learn how to do a business plan. But me and my usual self, I decided to start the business while I was doing the business plan, right? And so it's me and Dad, and I talked to him, and he got excited for it, and we put it together, and we ended up on the front page of the San Antonio
Yes.
Express News, the business
Yes.
page. I'll never forget that. That I still have that. I look at it every now and then. It's just so special to me. And he just made me feel like I was so special.
Yeah.
I would hear him talk to other people and be proud of it, like brag about it, be
Mm-hmm.
proud
He
of
was
it.
always
And
bragging about
that
you,
always
about that.
that always will stay with me. The things that we did together, that's something that I'll never forget. And then when we had to stop because he had that accident and he couldn't work anymore and all that, that was hard. I kept on by myself for a while and he would encourage me. And then we started again in 2014 and I would always go to him with questions. He would always be telling other people at church what we were doing. I remember him saying, "She's la mera mera." He would just always be saying stuff like that.
And that's
You
the
know,
good
it's
thing that
okay.
Daddy did too. Is he always supported us no matter what.
Yeah.
No matter
He
what
was
we did.
always there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was always very supportive. And,
Yeah, he
and,
taking
and
us to work. Like I remember when I was working at Mama Margie's and I would go in at 6 in the morning and Daddy would wake up and we would get in the car at 5:30. He goes, taking me to work, dropping me off, picking me up from work, picking me up from school, from college. Because I remember when I was living with Rachel and Tony and I would take the bus to school and I would catch the bus like at 6 in the morning. I remember one time that there was this guy that would be at the bus stop that wouldn't leave me alone. It became to where he was like trying to cross those lines. I ended up telling mom and dad about it. And daddy got mad and he told me, "Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me about it?" And I was like, "Well, daddy, I didn't want to bother you because early." And so he's like, "No, no, I'm going to pick you up from now on." And so he would drive all the way to where me, Rachel, and Tony were living, pick me up, take me to school, and then pick me up from school and take me to work, pick me up from work, take me back home. So those were things, that sacrifice that he made for all of us, because we all have
Yes.
those
He
memories of him taking
sacrificed
us
a
to
lot
work.
for
You're not really thinking of the sacrifices until now as you get older and you look back and you think to yourself, wow, those were a lot of sacrifices
mhm.
that he made. He didn't complain to us because I don't remember him complaining to me. I'm sure he probably complained with mom, like, there I had to get up again, or I had to go pick up the girls again, or maybe he did, but I never heard him get mad that he had to pick me up or that
Mhm.
he had to drop me off. And he was the one taught me how to drive. I remember when he would teach me in between classes when we were waiting for Ruthie to come out of her class, and daddy would be teaching me how to drive. So he was the one that did that. He's the one that took me to go take take my driving test and using the car for test driving. And so those were things like sacrifices that he made in that aspect of he always put us first, in those things. Proud of us as his daughters. I mean, him and mom raised four very strong women, strong-minded women, and independent women as well. I would say that.
And I wanted to add, Rose, what you were saying, how he made sacrifices for every single one of us. I know he for Becky, Rachel, and you, Rose. And one memory that I do have, well, one of the memories. So I know he used to take both of us to school, back and forth. My first year in college, I had a math class, and in between that class and another class, I had a big gap. And it was my first year in college. It was too much of a long gap. I didn't want to be by myself. I didn't want to go anywhere else. So dad would literally meet me because I would go Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And he would go every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday during my gap. And he would pick me up. We would go eat and just spend that time, that gap together. And then he'll bring me back for class and then wait for me because that class was only an hour. And he would wait. He would park and just wait for me to get out. And mom would be like, ay, maybe no tienes que hacer eso, déjala, ahí anda ahí, puede, she can go, sit down anywhere or whatever. Don't waste gas just to go all the way over there. That's a long time. But no, daddy knew that I didn't want to just have that all. That was a long time to wait. So he would go pick me up every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And we would go and eat. And we had so many fun memories during that time. We would go to different restaurants, try different restaurants. And that's when he got upset one time because I didn't like the service, right? He always had to tip. Of course, he always tip, which is a good thing. I was so upset that day because they were out of everything and the waitress was not so great. But my dad still tipped no matter how bad the service was. And I got up and he put the tip and I got up and I took the tip of the table. He was so mad because I had said, Dad, no, this was a bad service. She was this, she was that. Like, she wasn't great. And this and that. And I got up. I took the tip and we get in the car and I have the money and I'm like this. ¿Dónde ganaste eso? You took the tip. Was all mad at me that whole time. And he would still talk about that day. But yeah, I have that memory with him, the sacrifices that he would do. And when I lived in San Marcos, if it was up to my dad, he would literally, like, I used to wish when I had, like, during breaks, oh, daddy's not here, to call him and I would tell him, I would play around and tell him, Daddy, you should come over here. And mom goes, don't even think about asking him. He's not driving all the way to San Marcos just for that. But the sacrifices that he has done for grandchildren, that's something that I will always remember. The relationship he had with Josiah, and he would literally out of the blue just sometimes just go to San Marcos to go and spend some time with Josiah. Go surprise Josiah, pick him up from school, take him to the park there. And he did that for all grandchildren. Yes.
Yeah, that's like
and
a whole other episode with the grandkids.
Yes, yeah, because that we would be here for like 3 hours.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yes, he left the impact, the legacy of his faith. To this day, I don't know if you guys, like, you just hear dad's words, like his words of wisdom, his encouraging words, like things he would always say to me if I was crying or whatever.
Exactly.
Yes, that
Yes.
one.
That
Yes,
is
he
I'm
would
the
tell
same
me.
way with my kids.
Yes, and he would tell
Yeah.
me, why are you worried? You
Yeah.
don't know who your God is? Did you
Yeah.
forget who your God is?
Mm-hmm.
Though that always stays.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That stays.
That look. Yes.
Yeah.
And three words, just praise him, no matter what. To this day, I still can hear him say, just praise him.
Yeah.
No matter how the situation looked, he would always tell me, just praise him. And when I say he was a man of faith, I know we talked about the Pinto, but I remember we had one of the neons. That neon didn't reverse anymore. It wouldn't go
Oh
on
yeah.
reverse. Neon would not
Híjole.
reverse. Oh my
Embarrassing.
goodness. We would have to go to places and park in areas where he knew there was like a little hill to try and reverse. But one that I will not forget, we were on the highway and that vehicle just in the middle of the highway, we're like, I don't know if you remember right there on 90 where you're gonna like you're on 35, right? And then you're gonna exit to go 90. That little turnaround. So we were right there, and right when we passed the little turn, the neon just stopped. Literally just stopped. Right? It started doing like it was gonna like kind of like shaking a little bit, and then it just stopped, and daddy goes, freaked me out. I was in the back, and he goes, En el nombre de Jesús de Nazaret. The car just go. It took off. He laid hands on the steering wheel. En el nombre de Jesús de Nazaret. And then the car just took off. I was like, oh my
Yeah.
goodness. I literally saw that happen. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, of course, we're all human. We have moments to where our faith dwindles a little bit. But when I think about Dad's words, when I think about those things, it kind of helps me. Like, I got to remember, and that's one thing that I always remember about him. Yeah.
That's one of the things that I tell my kids, that I see myself repeating things that Dad would tell me when I'm talking to my kids, when I'm trying to encourage them or even correct them, teaching them how to pray. But one of the main things that my kids know that I say all the time is that there's power in the name of Jesus, because that's something that Dad would always say all the time. There's power in the name of Jesus, you can do all things through Christ, things like that that I share with my kids. And victory, victory shall be mine. And then my kids grew up in church too, so they got to see their pompos late in the game, but they got to see him minister and sing and do all that. So even though it wasn't that many years, my kids have their memories. And I'm grateful for that the faith that he taught us, the words, the scripture, the fight in you to not give up. That's something that we get from him. Not being afraid, being bold, and confront confront the issue. That's how I am.
Very good.
Not be afraid of the enemy, because we know we're victorious and the enemy doesn't have any power. And that's what Daddy instilled, drilled in me and drilled in all of us. I grew from that. And I'm sitting here in my bedroom and I'm seeing all of Daddy's books that I have here, that I keep, his reading material and everything. Those are things that I thank God for. We were blessed with wonderful dad.
That song that you were saying, Victor, Victory Shall Be Mine, that is a song that he would always sing. And a lot of people who remember him, I always tell me, or they'll comment, oh, I remember him singing Victory, Victory Shall Be Mine. Well, those words are actually on his tombstone. Victory, Victory Shall Be Mine, because that's what I remember of Daddy. He would always say, you have the victory. Ya tienes tu milagro. Remember that song? Ya tengo mi milagro. He would sing that one too. He would always say, you have the victory. So I was with him the first time he ever heard that song. I remember going home, he goes, I like that song. I'm going to start singing it. And he did it in Spanish too. And that was the song that he always sang. And he wrote some songs too. He wrote several songs. Rachel, I know you and I have written songs too. So I don't know if that's where we get it from, the being able to write songs
And
and
his
stuff.
guitar
So
playing, Daddy played the guitar too.
yes, he did.
He
He
played
played
the
the guitar. He
guitar,
would
and
accompany himself really well on the guitar. And
and
even
Daddy
like
was an
during,
artist too. Yeah,
oh,
he drew
yes,
really well. He was
amazing
an
on
artist.
artist.
Yeah,
And he was always very creative. Like I remember when I was in the 4th grade, everybody had to create something from history, any time in history, a period of time. And there was a contest for it. There was like a display and then it was going to be voted and there was a contest. I've always been fascinated with indigenous, the time period of the indigenous peoples and all of that. And so I had chosen that time period. Daddy helped me. It was actually you, Rachel. Daddy and Rachel helped me with that. And then he created like the little teepee and like the little wood with fire. And then Rachel painted Rachel painted like the night sky, and then I painted like the river. It was like so nice, and I won 2nd place for that. So he was always very,
Daddy
very, very
loved all
creative.
that indigenous stuff, and he would draw the chief from
Yes.
he would always draw that.
I remember Mom had drawings saved that Daddy did of me and my brother. I don't know if
I
she
think
still
she
has
still
them or
has
not,
them.
but
I've seen some.
he did Daddy. You could draw freehand anybody that would sit in front of him. But yeah, and then he would always, the first thing he showed me what to draw was, y'all know, the sunset with the beach with the 2 palm trees, the
Yeah, he taught me
sunset,
that one too.
the beach
Yeah.
thing, and one time I did go with Daddy to go paint a house. I was already older. It was like 12 or 13, I don't remember. And there was this big white wall, and it was going to be painted a different color. And he goes, look what I'm going to do. And he started painting with the new color. He started painting the sunset with the 2 palm trees on that huge wall.
Oh,
Right. And I remember I was standing there, and then I was like, Dad, you're going to leave it like that? He goes, yeah, why not? He started painting another wall. And then later on, he rolled it over or whatever. But yeah, that's something also that's very distinct with me, and I still do it to this day. I draw the beach scene,
I do
with the
too. I
sunsetting,
drew
the
it the other
painting,
day.
and all that. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just
I
something
didn't
that.
get that painting skill, I guess, like the house painting skill, because I remember when I was 17, I finally got my own room, finally, right? After everybody moved out, all y'all moved out, I finally got my own room. And so I wanted to paint my room. Well, by that point, Daddy already had his accident, so he couldn't climb ladders anymore and stuff. And I told him, I said, Daddy, like, I'll paint, but you just tell me how. So he was so like getting so frustrated with me,
You were doing it wrong.
especially like especially at the corners. You know how Daddy never used blue tape. He would
Yeah,
do those the edges like
yeah.
perfectly with the paintbrush. And so I was like trying to do it, and started getting paint on the ceiling. He told me, get off from. So he took me off the ladder. He climbed up. He started fixing it. Oh my goodness. He was so mad at me because I was,
He was a perfectionist. He
He
knew
was a
he.
yes,
perfectionist.
yes,
Honesty
Yeah.
yes,
comes with excellence. Like that's something that no matter what
yes,
you
Yes,
do, it you put your all your what do you say? Say your
yes,
ganas. You're gonna put it all in
yes.
yes.
because that is
And
Mm-hmm.
that's one thing too that Daddy would always. I don't know if he shared it with you guys, but he would always tell me. He goes in ministry. He goes, "It's not how you start; it's how you finish." He goes, "Because
Yes.
anybody can start with greatness and encouragement and all this
Mm-hmm.
hoopla, whatever." He goes, "But not everybody finishes. Everybody finishes different."
yep.
He goes, and
Yeah.
with us, he would always tell me, "If you're gonna start it, he goes, you're gonna finish in greatness and never
Yeah.
in defeat." You
And
know,
And
he
and
would
that's what
so
he told
always
me when I decided to go back to school when I turned 30. I was scared because I thought at that time I'm too old to go back to school. And when I made that decision to finish my degree, that was one of the things that Daddy told me. He's like, it's not about when you finish, it's about how you finish. He didn't get the chance to see me graduate, but I've always been grateful for that because we were talking about earlier him taking us to school and,
yeah,
just being that support system. And he was really proud. He was really proud of all of
he
us.
would always
Yeah.
tell me it's never too late. He would always tell me it's
Yeah.
never too late. Even though dad did not get to have that education, he always was proud that we were, so he was always
yeah,
happy about that. And
yeah,
I just wanted to say a couple of things before we end up closing. I know when Rose spoke at his funeral, she spoke, her speech was basically because everybody was talking about who dad was as a minister, as an evangelist, as a preacher, but not of everybody knew the daddy side of him, right? Rose was talking about how, Becky, you had your bond with him, or Rachel, you had your bond with the music, and Becky, business, the painting, Rose hers. And then she goes, and Ruthie, well, she goes, she had a bond with him, but she had her bond, of course. But like we would always pick on each other. It was always that with me and
Yeah.
daddy. And then so I
Yeah.
lived with
Y'all were
him
always
for a
putting
very
each
long
other
time.
down.
And even like towards the end, when I was living with him the last years of his life, and he would I used to love picking on him because he would pick on me. He would love picking on me. And I will never forget, it was one time he was all because my dad was he had this self-esteem, like he knew if he looked good, he knew
Yes.
he looked good. And I
Yes.
he would dress up in his suit and his tie and whatever he was wearing, and he would come out and be like, "Eat your heart out, eat your heart out." If I told him,
or
"Dad, you
you
look
say you look good,
nice,"
Dad. I know,
I know. I'm like, "Dad, you're
I
not gonna
know.
say thank you." And he would always say that, "Eat your heart out." Whoever, like if we had a boyfriend at the time or whoever it was we were with at that time, he would say, "Eat your heart out, so and so. Eat your heart." Like Rachel, he would say, "Eat your heart out, Tony. Eat your heart out,
Yeah,
Tony." He would always say that. And so I
yeah.
remember one time he had gotten a new shirt, and I was in the living
Oh,
room, he was in the room, right? And every time he got something new, he would always, if I'm sitting down in the room, he always come out and be like, "I know I look good, but I know I look good," right? So he had gotten a green. It was a green long sleeve. What kind of green it was? It was like,
A mint, like
oh
a
yeah,
mint.
something like
Yeah.
that. And he had it, right. And he comes out. He had black pants. He had the green shirt tucked in, and he had a black tie. Okay. And he comes out. I'm sitting there watching TV, and he comes out. He's like, "How do I look?" It was on a Sunday, getting ready for church. How do I look? And I look at him. I had never seen him with that color on. He comes out. He's like, "How do I look?" "Dad, you look like an avocado." Dad, you look like an avocado. He's like, okay. He looks down at himself, right? And then he goes to the room, and all I hear is, ¿Por qué le haces caso a Ruthie? To the room, and he told mom, I'm not wearing this. And then my mom was like, ¿Por qué? And he told mom, yo no voy a usar esto. Quítamelo, voy a usar algo más. And mom goes, lo vas a usar, mi vida. Es nuevo. No. He goes, dijo Ruthie que me parezca un avocado.
You got all
But
so
it's funny
offended,
because
Ruth.
all I hear is him going to the room, and all I hear, like, silence for a little bit, then I hear, ¿Por qué le haces caso a Ruthie? Back with
Oh,
some
yeah,
different
yeah.
shirt. He didn't wear it. He never wore it again. That shirt stayed there.
I want to make sure we mention this. No matter how, obviously he was pastor, everything dedicated to God, but he taught us not to be judgmental. And that's
Yeah.
what
Mm-hmm.
I remember. Like
Mm-hmm.
he could relate to anyone. He loved talking to people.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
yes.
He did not
Mm-hmm.
mean to be perfect. He just wanted to meet them where they were at. And that's what I
Yeah.
remember. I always admired about him, right? That no
Mm-hmm.
matter
Yeah.
what, he never forgot what he went through, right? And
Yes.
that everyone has a past and that
I
if
love
God
that you're mentioning
him,
that.
that, and he can, God can change
That
anyone.
that
Yeah.
reminds me, Becky, of what you're saying. I'm so glad you're bringing that up. I always say he was a great example of what Christ's love is. And when I
Yes.
say that, I'm not just saying that because I remember during the time of the Katrina hurricane when we had a lot of the evacuees come over here, and they ended up staying at the apartment complex he was at. He made so many friends, and he had several friends there at the apartments, and he would talk to every single one about God. And he called every single one of them his friend. And he'd be like, "Oh, hey neighbor, hi neighbor," and would always see Daddy out there, and he would hear their story, and he would come back and tell me a lot of the reasons why I know what a lot of them went through. Not only because of what I saw on TV, but because they would tell him their personal story, what they went through, what happened. He would come back and he felt even more compassion for them. And he would always talk to them about Christ. Always. That was one
Mm-hmm.
thing that I always remember about Daddy is no matter who it was, if he had the chance, he was gonna talk to
Yes.
you about Christ. He
He
was
will
gonna
take
throw
it.
in
Yep.
Jesus right then and there, no matter what.
Yep.
It could be at the grocery
Yep.
store. And if a homeless person came to ask for money, he would give them whatever he had there. And then he would say, "Do you know Jesus?" And then they would
Mm-hmm.
say, someone would say no, and he'll talk to them about him. And if they said yes, and they always had a story. I used to go to church, but this and this and that. A lot of them, he would end up, I would see them there crying. They would give their lives to Jesus sometimes just because of him. And he would always tell me, you meet somebody, always find the opportunity to
Yes.
introduce them to Jesus no
Yes.
matter what.
Yes.
And
And he
I
would
love that
always
about him.
say, always be ministry minded. That
Yes.
was the one thing he would always tell me to always be ministry minded, always represent Jesus. He was so compassionate. He had a lot of compassion. He was just so loving towards people. As you mentioned, Becky, it didn't matter what lifestyle they had, where they came from. He would always say that everybody has a testimony, everybody has a story, every person was an individual person. So, yes,
Mhm.
most definitely. Yes.
A
Yeah.
lot of people that we know to this day always have something to say about Daddy. Oh, I this and it impacted me. Or I know this one person had recently told me not too long ago. She said that a memory she has of Daddy when she was a little girl was Daddy giving shelter to a homeless man, and that stayed with her. And that was her inspiration. And that touched me because I was like,
Yeah.
wow,
That's awesome.
who Daddy was. We could sit here and be here for hours just talking about the many memories. These are just a handful, everyone. This is just a handful of what we have of dad as a dad, dad as a minister, dad as a pastor. We have so many memories. And maybe soon, you never know, maybe soon we can get together again and talk more about
Yeah.
other memories that we have because it's just so many. Is there anything you guys want to say before we end this?
I just want to say that I'm grateful for this opportunity and grateful for this. And thank you, Ruthie, for bringing us together.
Of
It
course.
means a lot to us. And I'm grateful that God not only blessed us with a wonderful dad, a wonderful mom, but God has blessed me with wonderful sisters. and a wonderful brother, because one couple, mom and dad, that gave birth to us. And this family is so special. And I know daddy's up in heaven rejoicing and stuff. And it's hard to believe that it's been 10 years. But
Yeah.
even though we're all adults, I do want to say this, and those that are listening, that 10 years can pass by. We're adults. We have our adult life, but you will always be daddy's girls. It's a part of who we are.
Yes.
And we have our moments where we miss him. We wish he was here with us. But sharing these memories and laughter and stuff and legacy that he left behind, it's just something that I'm grateful, because it's all because of Jesus. If it had not been
Yes.
for our Lord and daddy getting saved, it would have been a whole different story. And so I'm grateful. I got to see the before and the after. And to me, it gives me more joy to know that God is real, and God can change a heart, and God can change a life. And through the
You
power
saw his
of salvation,
transformation.
yes,
Yep.
complete transformation
100.
from one day to the next, And y'all know my testimony. It took me a few years to forgive him, but the moment that I did, that's when our inseparable bond began in ministry. And
Mhm.
I'm grateful for that. And so God gets all the glory for it. And so I'm
Amen.
excited for this episode, special episode, and pray that it will bless someone that's listening.
Yes.
Yes. You, Becky, do you have any last words that you want to say?
I'm grateful too, as Rachel was saying, like it taught me to really believe in transformation, right? When I think about that and all the prayers and the faith that he instilled in us, that faith has become a pillar, right, in our lives. But I also think about, because he was always praying. Like he never literally, I don't even know, like he talked to God all day long, right? He was always praying, and he would always say that I'm praying for this and I'm praying for that. He always wanted to know, what do you need me to pray for? So I imagine, this is just me, but I imagine like there's this treasure box, right, of a bunch of prayers that we still pull
Mm-hmm.
from, that we're still
Yes.
Mm,
Mhm.
right,
Yes.
our kids. And he would always say that the prayers that he prays is for our generations and generations to come. So
Yeah.
I hold on to that. I know that he was a blessing to a lot of people, and a blessing obviously to us, and I hope that people always carry that forward. Whatever blessing he was to them, that they carry that forward as well.
Amen.
yes, most definitely. Yeah, and I just want to thank the both of you, my two older sisters, for joining us on this episode and sharing the memories with us. And I am grateful for the bond that we all have. We always had a strong bond as a family, but I didn't think there could be a possibility it could be even stronger. But I think after Daddy's passing, it made us even stronger than I thought it could ever be. And so I am grateful for my sisters. Besides God's strength, I don't think I would have been able to get through the last 10 years without y'all.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you.
Mhm.
And I
Yes,
love
of
y'all
Mhm.
course.
so
I love you
much.
too.
Love you too.
Yes, but thank you, Becky, Rachel, for even agreeing to do this. I know that when I brought it up, y'all were all down, y'all were all for it. And it's our first time actually together and being able to talk. Yes, we talk memories, funny stories here and there, but to actually get together and just do this, it was just amazing. I think this has brought us even closer. And like Rose was saying, if it wasn't for you guys, I don't think I would have been able to get through the past 10 years, even what recently happened, the loss of our Theo, which was hard for all four of us. And so thank you we've been there for each other. We've been
Yes.
there for each other during this time, and we're still dealing with it, but through God's strength.
Amen.
Amen. Us just leaning on each other for it. And
Mm-hmm.
as you were saying, Becky, what we have of Daddy prayers and everything he did. And I want to end with, I brought it up in my second episode, that even till the very end, on his deathbed, that was the last day that we ever heard Dad's voice, was when he prayed over all of us siblings. We all got around the bed and he said that prayer. And it wasn't just a prayer, it was a powerful prayer. He prayed over all of us. He even came against the enemy during
Yeah.
that. And that's why I mentioned, even till the very end on his deathbed, he still came strongly against the enemy, and he still prayed a powerful prayer. And that just shows who Daddy was, even
Yes.
until the very end. And so, yeah, so I just want to thank you guys so much for doing this. And I hope this isn't the last time that we're together on a special episode. So thank you so much once again. And everyone, I hope you enjoy this. I hope it's a blessing to you. Those who may not know the other side of my dad besides the minister side, hope this gave you like a little sneak peek of who he was. And so
Yes.
thank you once again, everyone. And till next time, God bless you all. Bye bye.